Hello and welcome to Monday Night Therapy. We have a new platform. We are switching to StreamYard, and this is a brand new platform for Todd. It'll be a brand new platform for us to do live streams. It's going to take some getting used to, as you noticed. We had a new intro, and otherwise, it's we're here in June. It's June, for crying out loud, and we're doing a live show about college football. That seems a little insane to me. Hello, Linda Wilkins, and James Boardman says, like that opening. Thank you. What do you think, Todd?
Well, I like the new intro, and I'm curious about how this platform is going to work. There's more bells and whistles than I've seen before. So okay, I'm going to take responsibility right now. If it all goes to hell, that means I hit the wrong button. So,
okay, we're gonna start out with let's see here, brand. No, that's the video. Tell us what this is about, Todd.
Well, Sipple reported today that Matt Rule in an interview, interview somewhere, that in their plans for fall practice, they're basically going to sequester the entire team in Zlich Hall, right there on campus. And the whole team's going to be together throughout the fall camp. Said the coaches are going to stay there too. And, as Sipple had in his quote, nobody's going to live in their apartment for 12 days to 2 weeks. So it's kind of an old school approach, not quite the Junction Boys. This isn't Bear Bryant taking those Aggies clear out to West Texas and killing them off in the heat and the sun and not giving them any water or anything. I'm sure they'll have water. But
it's Zlich.
Zlich. Yeah. Didn't I say Zlich?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Zlich for like 30, 40 years. Wasn't Zlich kind of shouldn't have been torn down decades ago?
Well, yeah, Zlich's the one right by the Union, isn't it? I used to go in there for lunch sometimes because it was, right on campus. Yeah. Well, I'm sure they've remodeled it. It's probably, it probably has as high of a quality rating as Kentucky's dormitories did, where they forced all those visiting teams, to stay during the regional baseball tournament because they were not wise enough to look and see that the entire city of Lexington, Kentucky was being overrun with a music concert and state tournaments and all that kind of stuff. So
Linda Wilkins says, hey, John, what's up with your shipping department? Where's my t-shirt? You know what? I don't know. I didn't know you didn't receive a t-shirt. Send me an email to, let's see here. Send an email about this to bornnation@gmail.com, and I'll look into it, and we'll see what we can figure out about your t-shirt, Linda, because I don't want people to have bad experiences. Now, the question I have for everybody that's here on the live stream is this. They're going to spend this time in Zlich Hall, which I assume is up to standards. It's up to date. I don't know. I haven't been there for a very long time. Todd and I lived in Harper Schramm Smith, actually in Schramm 6. But if you were going to do this, if you were going to have teams sequestered in a dorm for like 12 days, it sounds like these are like team building. This is team building time. I want to know what kind of team building activities you would put the team through besides fall camp. I mean, they consider this part of fall camp. So that's my question for you guys in the comments. Oh, Linda, I ordered it last night. $4.69 shipping does not give you overnight shipping. This is true. It is a print on demand, and it takes a few days for it to actually be the order to be fulfilled. So, all right. What's next, Todd?
Well, let's kind of hang around the whole football thing here for a while. They announced the not the Hall of Fame class, but those that are eligible or those that will be considered for induction to the Hall of Fame, the College Football Hall of Fame. And, there's a couple of folks with Nebraska roots or Nebraska connections. Coach Frank Zlich, for the first time, appears on the ballot, and Chadron State's own Danny Woodhead. What do you think? Is Frank Zlich, is he a Hall of Fame worthy coach or player / coach? Does he rate up there with other Hall of Fame coaches?
Well, he's up against like 9 of the guys. And I guess if you look at, I mean, he meets the criteria. We're supposed to say yes because he's our Frank Zlich. And I guess if you put in the, but if you include the time he spent with Tom Osborne, then yes. I mean, if you let him stand alone on his own coaching, again, he does meet the criteria. I thought about that when I got the email with the press release, and I thought, okay, is he a Hall of Fame coach? And when you look at who he's up against, oh, come on. I was going to load this in the thing, and that's one thing I didn't do. He's up against Mark D'Antonio, who has a 641 win percentage. Frank's win percentage is 631. Now, the one thing I will say for Frank Zlich is take his Nebraska experience out of it and just let him stand on what he did at Ohio. And he took Ohio from nothing. I mean, Roger, that we went to school with in Nebraska, used to tell me that people at the University of Ohio would go to the football games to watch the band, and they'd leave at halftime. And Frank Zlich showed up there, and he made them into a respectable football team. I don't know if he ever won, the MAC? I don't think he ever won a MAC title. But, I mean, he did take Iowa from crap and made them respectable and won bowl games for him. And I think he's a legend at Ohio. So I guess, you know what? Honestly, if you were an Ohio University person, you'd probably say, yeah, absolutely, Frank belongs in the Hall of Fame. He's up against Ralph Friggin at Maryland, who went 600, Larry Blakeney at Troy, Jim Carlin, Pete Cawthorn Sr., who coached in 1923 to 1927 and coached at Texas Tech from 1930 to 1940, Darrell Rogers, and then Tommy Tuberville. Now, if you're going to ask me am I going to put him ahead of the coaches that I know, which is Tommy Tuberville? That'd be yes. Put him again ahead of Ralph Friggin. You know what? Ralph Friggin finished at 600. He was one of the only guys that took Maryland to respectability. Put him ahead of Mark D'Antonio. I think I'd actually probably put Mark D'Antonio ahead of Frank. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I don't know. When I think Hall of Famers, and it's not that I'm trying to be a jerk or a prick here, but, Hall of Fame coaches are those that have their teams competitive at the highest levels. And, there's no disputing the fact that Frank Zlich, he reinvented himself after he, was shown the door at Nebraska, unfortunately shown the door at Nebraska. He built a very strong, successful program at Ohio. He took them to levels that Ohio had never seen before. But, I do understand the College Hall of Fame has a lot more people in it than the NFL Hall of Fame. I get that, the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But I don't know. I'd question whether or not he's a Hall of Fame coach. I think he's near and dear to a lot of people, but yeah.
James Marshall says his team's blocked. It's just about as simple a comment as you could make about why he should. You know what I mean?
We haven't seen a whole lot of that since. So no. So
wait a minute. What about Danny Woodhead? Danny Woodhead should get first ballot. I mean, he should be in the Hall of Fame. And
I think Danny would.
Just be boom.
Yeah, I think he should be in there. I mean, he's a small school phenom, and you can't ignore those guys. And the fact that he went and had a successful professional career, That's worth noting as well. So yeah, there's a great story with Danny Woodhead, and I would hope that he makes the Hall of Fame, make everybody back out in Western Nebraska really happy. So
Oh, you know what? You know who else is on this list that I didn't mention in the article I made that I wrote today? Alan Zickman. Alan Zickman coached at Nebraska Kearney from 1955 to 1971, and his teams won 11 conference titles. 9 of his players were named NAIA All-Americans, and 67 made all-conference. Alan Zickman is a member of the NAIA Hall of Fame, so there's another guy from Nebraska there.
Yeah, didn't realize that. I'm not familiar with Alan.
Now, for a profile for Danny Woodhead, it says 3-time first team All-American, finished his career as college football's all-time rushing leader with 7,962 yards. And when they say all-time rushing leader, they mean in all divisions.
Yeah.
2-time Harlan Hill Trophy recipient, holds nearly every rushing all-purpose record in D2 RMAC, that's their conference, and Chadron State Annals. It's kind of a weird word to use there, but I mean, he just destroyed. He destroyed everybody he came up against, pretty much. I mean, 7,900 yards for your college career. I think they would just go kaboom, and Danny Woodhead's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
All right. What else?
Well, as far as Nebraska football is concerned, we talked a little bit about the fall camp. Danny Kalin, I think we mentioned this last week, was a participant in that Elite 11 not tryout, but that camp, the Elite 11 camp. I don't know. I just saw this before we went on we started streaming here. Malachi Coleman was on the Kelly Clarkson show today with his parents, and talking about his nonprofit, his foundation, that he's set up to support, foster kids and the families and stuff. And Kelly Clarkson, with one of her sponsors or one of her benefactors, they contributed $15,000 to his foundation, which I think is pretty cool. I hope Malachi Coleman, he's athletic. We know he's athletic, just crazy athletic. And I hope that he, turns himself into a quality Division I player. And because he's got such a good backstory, it would be really, really cool because he's got such a good backstory.
I'm more selfish than you. I hope he turns himself into an all-American, all-team player, because we win shit tons of games, Todd. Come on. Well, it's about me.
Yeah, okay. All right. And then we had, where'd the term Moby Dick weekend come from? We had a Moby Dick weekend.
We had a bunch of Moby Dicks. Yeah. I was going to ask Akelo why he used that term, but
well, I suppose whales. It's a good thing Fred Sacco's not here yet, because he'd probably just destroy that. But apparently, for all the recruitniks out there, they had 9 pretty high-powered people on campus with their official visits. Nearly all of them were all of them except for 2 were from either Florida or Texas. They brought in a bunch of defensive backs. Peyton Morgan from Pflugerville, Texas. I think Pflugerville, that's one of the coolest names of a town I've ever heard. Pflugerville. But he's a 4-star recruit. Mario Buford is the brother of Marcus Buford. He's a 4-star D-back, and he's from DeSoto, Texas. They brought in this guy named William Speedy Nettles from Florida. He's a 3-star athlete that has had a lot of success as a wide receiver in high school, but apparently people seem to think that he'll get put on the other side of the ball. Amari Saunders, another defensive back, 3-star from Miami. And then
Jacory.
Jacory. Yeah, Jacory Barner, wide receiver, 4-star from Florida. So, they did bring in a kid from Omaha, a 6'5", 300-pound offensive lineman, Caleb Pieform. I don't know if that's how you say it, if that's how you pronounce it. Pieform. He's from Omaha Central. He's getting a lot of national attention. Boy, you want to keep a 6'5", 300-pounder that's 45 minutes away. You want to keep him in state. So, hopefully they get some commits out of this. Some of the pundits that seem to know a lot more about recruiting than I do said they expected a few commits this weekend, but I haven't seen any.
Well, it's June. It's the June before their senior year, right? That would seem to be early to me.
I don't know. It? Well, commit, that's not signing your name on the line.
Well, that's true. That's true. You have plenty of time to do. I would play hard to get. That's what I would do.
You would play hard to get.
I would play hard to get. You know why I would play hard to get, Todd?
Why would you play hard to get?
Because I've really never been hard to get in my entire life. There's never been anything really like, oh, I got to play hard to get this. There's never been any asset I've had that I could use against people. They would just go, hey, we have free beer. Ah, shit, my kryptonite. And then I'd run over there. Anyway, Linda Wilkins says, with your looks, woo. Okay. We have the Moby Dick recruiting weekend recovered. Okay. I'll move on. What's next?
What's next? We're going to be done in 20 minutes.
Yeah, we are. You know what is missing off of this thing?
What is missing?
What is missing is the timer that I used to have right up here in the right up in the corner.
It's above your head, John.
And it used to tell me how many minutes we were into this thing so that we would know, segments and shifts. That's the one thing
we are 18 minutes and 38 seconds.
Oh my God, right there it is.
They're above you.
Right where I was pointing. Okay. Yet I didn't see any of you guys come up with team building activities you could do in a dorm.
I think they'll play telephone.
What the hell is that? I should know what this is, but
where you sit in a circle and you tell somebody, you whisper a story, and then it goes around the circle, and then you see what it comes. After it goes through about 8 people, how the story comes out. Haven't you ever played telephone?
I lost a lot of my memories. I think that
they're going to go bowling. They're going to play tug of war out there in front of the Union. They're going to be out there without their shirts on, so that people are walking by in the evening and seeing all those young studs out there pulling on a rope, having a good time.
Linda Wilkins says, is that like spin the bottle? That's what I thought when he said that. I asked ChatGPT to come up with some things that they could do for team building activities.
No, you didn't.
I did too. I put it in the article on coordination. Number 1, it said escape room challenge.
I don't want to lose any of these guys.
I don't know how you would do that in a dorm.
Well, they'll take them off campus and do some of that kind of stuff, don't you think?
Well, I was thinking about, the dorm. They're sequestered from, kind of like nuns, hidden away from society. A scavenger hunt, Todd. You could find the missing footballs.
Every 20-year-old really looks
You know,
forward to a scavenger hunt.
a do-it-yourself cooking competition. These are Chat GPT suggestions. You know what the problem with that is, Todd, is I just have to ask this. Can they have hot plates? Because, I mean, you know, back when we were in the dorms, you could have all the sex and drugs you wanted, but you really couldn't have a hot plate. They got really angry about your hot plates.
You could have a popcorn popper. And remember when Kurt used to use the popcorn popper and he'd saute his mushrooms in his popcorn popper?
Board game night. They could play Settlers of Catan.
Huh? You're going to tell me that's like a popular board game, huh?
It is a board game. I'm not very good at it, but it is a board game. It's where I won't go into it. Apparently, here's one from Chat GPT. It says that there's a board game named Pandemic.
How about this board game? Roger says the board game, Hot Volleyball Players.
They could have a movie night.
A movie night.
Movie night. Heidi and I watched Charlie Wilson's War Sunday night. That was pretty good.
That's a good movie. That is a good movie.
A talent show. They could have a talent show. What kind of talents do you think our football team would have at a talent
show? Well, I think they're singers. I'm sure they think they're singers.
But what else do you do at a talent show if you don't sing?
Tap dance, magic, stand-up comedy, aerial acrobatics. You have those big, long pieces of cloth and you wrap yourself in it and you climb up and you fall like you're going to hit the ground. You put together a choir and you sing.
Pole dancing? Pole dancing?
Pole dancing, yeah.
Is that a talent? Okay.
You might see some pole dancers. So.
And the last, I left one out on Chat GPT because it just seemed ridiculous. Kind of like the pandemic. I want to know, is there a pandemic board game? Is there really honestly a pandemic board game?
Cirque de Runza. I like that. Roger's firing on all cylinders tonight. Cirque de Runza. Yeah.
Oh my God, there is a pandemic board game. I don't know what that's about. The last one was community service. They could get together and go out and do a community service.
They'll do something like that. They'll do that. They'll go out and do something in the community. I'll bet you.
Alpha Free says, hate the new format. Where are the comments from the audience? They are many, many times more entertaining than yours. Kapow. Alpha, you probably, you know what? Look us up on YouTube. I honestly am getting to the point with this thing where I'm just going to stream this on YouTube because it's I don't think it works as well. I didn't think it worked as well with the other one on Facebook. We will put a notice on Facebook, but we might just switch this to YouTube only just because, I don't know, because of that. I thought the comments would be showing up. I think on YouTube, they just show up in a live chat area. And YouTube is really set up, and they've been doing this for a very long time. Okay, okay, we got that subject.
Let's move into the whole volleyball thingy.
Okay.
Volleyball Day in Nebraska. They announced last week that they're going to release some additional tickets. So if you didn't get your tickets, you have a chance to get them. And I was disappointed. They announced, the concert entertainer today, Scotty McCreery. Now I remember, when Scotty McCreery was on American Idol, I think I voted for him. But I expected Taylor Swift, and if I mean, come on, it's women, it's celebrating women. Celebrating, the best of Nebraska. And we got Scotty McCreery.
Is Scotty McCreery not good?
No, he's all right. He's kind of a He's kind of a B-list country singer. Yeah.
My knowledge of country and Western actually stopped probably about 1978.
Well, if I can't believe, if they couldn't get Taylor Swift, I'm serious. I thought it would be celebrate. Well, how about JoJo Siwa? There's a Nebraska female.
Is that who I think it is? No.
She's
what about Scotty McCreery? Can you sing a song he did?
No, he's got a really deep voice. Yeah, he sang the national anthem at the Northwestern game. So I could sing that. So, I mean, he's been on campus. Yeah, Linda Wilkins is right. He has a very deep voice. So
he wouldn't sing They Say Don't Go on Wolverton Mountain.
He might.
If you're looking for a wife. I think
has a pretty young daughter.
That's pretty old. We're at 27 minutes, Todd. This is what happens in June. There's been no arrests, so we don't have a lot of stuff going on.
The volleyball teams in Brazil.
Yes, they are. And they are slaughtering everybody they're contacting. That sounds horrible. They are slaughtering the teams they're playing. So what do we have here? We have, I think, 3 sweeps by the volleyball team over teams that I will butcher their names in pronouncing. The Minas Club. Okay, just not do that anymore. Nebraska, Mackenzie U19, they swept them. The Dentil Praia Clube, they swept them. They swept everybody in Brazil. Okay.
Well, yeah, I think they were going to go up. They were doing some service stuff too, service projects, and they were headed to Rio. So, what I thought was pretty cool is, just reading the little updates. They're playing everyone. And I mean, you would. I mean, if you're going to do that, you're not going to not play people. But they're talking about this freshman class, and holy moly! I mean, they're playing really, really solid. So it could be exciting times for the volleyball team in the fall if they come back from Brazil healthy, since they're down in the Amazon with more life forms than any other place in the planet and more poisonous plants and animals than anywhere else in the planet.
Okay, this was from a while ago, a comment from MK that said, what's your reaction to the AAU adding Miami, Notre Dame, Arizona State, Riverside, and I assume George Washington? What's your reaction, Todd?
Well, my first question is the AAU still relevant? And I'm only throwing that question out there because I don't know. I don't pay that much attention to academia at that level, but I do know. I mean, I'm a little bit surprised that Notre Dame hasn't been part of the AAU. Arizona State is more than a party school, folks. It has turned into a very strong institution, as has Miami. They've invested in those colleges, and they've brought in high-level faculty. I tell you what, I don't know anything about Riverside, and I don't know that much about George Washington either, I guess. But I guess on the flip side of that, Iowa State just opted out of being in the AAU. And there were some people who said they were just, they were getting out before they got sent out or something like that.
I have a take on this. I know that people for years have brought up the AAU when it comes to Big Ten, Big Ten, membership. And here's what I'd say about that is that that's in the past. It doesn't matter anymore. And the reason why it doesn't matter anymore is this. Throughout our entire careers, our entire lives, you have seen people who were critics of college football. You've seen a lot of academics who were kind of prominent, or at least had a voice, and that they didn't like how big football was on their campuses. They didn't like how big college sports had become. They didn't like all the money that was being paid to coaches and all the money that was being spent on the facilities. Where are those people now, Todd?
Tell me.
They're gone. They don't exist. Can you think of anybody that's been critical of big time college sports in, like, let's say, the last 5 years?
Yeah, you still have the Drake Group and Condoleezza Rice and some of those that want to reform it. They just and out at the Aspen Institute, there have been some think tanks. You know, they just haven't been very public recently.
But nobody listens to them.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
No, nobody has a voice. We don't have I don't know, who is it, Gordon G or some freaking guy, somebody. We don't have a prominent voice out there that's saying anything about how big college athletics is. And I think the reason for this is, honestly, because a lot of these universities are in trouble. They're in trouble with falling enrollment. They're in trouble with their budgets. They've hired way too many administrators that they don't know what to do with. The cost of tuition has gone up. Students are looking at this more and more and saying, why do I need a college degree? And at the same time, their athletic department budgets are way up. And I think they look at it and they go, we care about this being almost a semi-professional or almost a professional league anymore. We would like to see us make as much money as possible for football so that we can pay for all the athletic department stuff. And our academic side doesn't take a hit from the budget from schools that are mismanaging their athletic budgets.
But John, so you go down that road, you can extrapolate it a little bit further. Maybe you got to take a little right-hand turn, but how do you have a university unless you have an academic program? And I guess where I'm headed with that is colleges and universities in some way, shape, or form are subsidizing these massive athletic departments. And yet the business structure, the business model for four-year colleges and universities is broken. And, you read it all the time about how enrollment is declining. The percentages of kids that find jobs in their major when they graduate from a four-year college or university is well below 50%, more like in that, 30 to 40% at the most. And so, things are broken and people are starting to question, it's expensive to go to college. And people are starting to really question, why would I go to a four-year college or university when, I can go to a trade school or I can go to a community college. And right now in the skilled trades, which is the catchphrase, you can make a lot of money, and they're putting together benefit packages that used to be exclusive for the white collar crowd. So I guess my biggest fear, and we were popping off on Slack the other day, where Cal Berkeley has over a $400 million deficit in their athletic department. $400 million. Now that's in large part because of some, updates and upgrades that they've made to their stadium. But how do you cope with a $400 million deficit? I don't get it.
Well, Kevin said it was because of bonds. They just sell bonds, kind of like you're building a building or doing something, you sell bonds. But how do you cope with that? You get a good Pac-12 TV contract. Or you join the Big Ten. And that's why I think the whole AAU thing with the Big Ten is it's not relevant anymore. Is it relevant to the Big Ten academics? Yes, it is, because a lot of money goes into AAU for research stuff and research grants, and if you're a member of that, it supposedly gets shared. And I don't think that's honestly, I think that's more of I don't think it's as true as much as everybody thinks. Put it this way. If I was a professor at economics at the University of Minnesota Carlson School of Management, somebody gave me a grant, I'll be damned if I'm sharing it with them sons of bitches at Notre Dame. Right? So, but I do think that a lot of this is right now the universities don't care as much that their college football programs are just becoming, well, giant capitalistic whores.
Well, and I tell you what, it'll be interesting to see in the next 4 or 5 years with the arms race that's going on. I still maintain that in my lifetime, we will see a super conference or a super league that will involve 32 teams or in that ballpark, college football teams. And it'll be out of the hands of the NCAA or any other kind of oversight. And they'll be truly a minor league program, but I'm not in favor of that at all. So let me ask you this. Wade Farr says, what is your ideas on the president being in charge of sports at the University of Nebraska? I honestly have not paid that close attention to this right now. Trev Albert, you see, this is what's a little bit of a mystery to me. Trev Albert has, doesn't he have like a vice president title beyond being an athletic director? So I don't know. I'm a little bit leery of giving the president control over the athletic department, but
I think the idea here is that the board of regents would assume more control,
which is scary.
It is scary, and the reason why it's scary is because they're elected, right? The board of regents.
Yeah. It's a very political organization.
Yeah, they're politicians, and here's the thing: when you get any board in charge of anything, boards kind of all stick together. And what they do is they stick together and they cover each other's asses. So a lot of times when you get a board in charge of anything, nobody's really at fault. And the thing about having a president or having a chancellor in charge of sports, if they really fuck it up that badly, you can just fire them and get another one. And it's not even that hard. But if you get a board in charge of things, good luck.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
and it doesn't matter that Ted Carter may do a good job. This isn't about Ted Carter. It's not about the incoming guy that's replacing Ronnie Green or whoever that is. Once you give a board more power, you can't take it away from the board. That's the thing about this. So I don't think you ever want to give boards more power than they already have. It's a lousy, for the reasons.
I don't know that I don't know enough about it to speak intelligently. I'm a little bit nervous about it. I think you need to have some separation there. So, anyway, there's another thing I want to pop up here. And, because we've given a lot of time recently to baseball. We are in the regional tournaments. And MK points out that Iowa hit 10 batters yesterday, which means that they hit more batters in one game than they had passing touchdowns all of last year. Isn't that? I mean, that's a wonderful statistic. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the front end of that. I'll tell you what, in the Big Ten conference this year, it was horrible how many hit batters there were in games. I mean, I'm not sure if I watched a game from start to finish where at least one guy wasn't hit. And most times there were multiple. One Nebraska game that I watched, there were 6 hit batters between the two teams. That's a lot. And I don't know, I find that problematic. But Iowa, was in the regional. They went out to Indiana State, and they are going home. Indiana State won that regional. Indiana went down to Kentucky, and Kentucky just beat them. I think the final score might have been 4-2 today. So Indiana is out. And Maryland had to go to number 1 Wake Forest. And Maryland put up half as many points as their football team did this year. I mean, it was just crazy lot of runs in the tournament out there, but Maryland did not advance. So the Big Ten Conference, the Big Ten Baseball Conference, is finished for the season.
Would you have rather Iowa made it to a super regional?
No.
Why?
No.
Why?
Because Rick Keller, he's outstanding coach, best coach in the conference, easy. But no, I'm not going to cheer for the Iowa Hawkeyes. What I think is kind of interesting is that they got knocked out by Indiana State. That's where Rick Keller was the head coach before he went to Iowa. And
I thought he was at Northern Iowa.
That was before Indiana State.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, he was at Indiana State. And now Indiana State, this little Summit League team who, was a 14 seed or something like that, they can't host the Super Regional because they don't meet the hotel requirements. The Indiana Special Olympics are going on in Terre Haute this coming weekend, and they can't meet the hotel requirements. And so it sounds like TCU, who should be going to Terre Haute to play, they were an unseeded team. Looks like TCU may end up hosting Indiana State. That's a screw job. That's horrible. But that's Texas.
Even though wasn't there one regional where they didn't have any hotel rooms within hours?
Yeah, that was Kentucky. That was in Kentucky. And so Kentucky arranged for all of the teams, including Kentucky, to stay in dormitories.
Did they do any team building activities while they were there?
Yeah, they probably baked cookies. They probably had a cookie baking contest.
Okay. Do we have more starred comments? Let's see here. Brian Hula says, with regards to the band, they could have at least gotten someone who has written a song about Nebraska, like Sawyer Brown. Maybe Scotty McCreery will write a song about Nebraska before the actual concert happens.
Bruce Springsteen wrote a song about Nebraska.
You know what I did? You know what I did today, Todd? I signed up for Apple News.
Sang a song about Nebraska.
I signed up for Apple News.
Apple News?
Yeah, I signed up for Apple's their Apple One thing where you get all their services because I wanted a news app. And what started coming up on the news app is music articles. And one of those music articles was about Bruce Springsteen's Nebraska album.
Yeah.
And how that album is probably it came. Come on, what was the album with Thunder Road on it?
Born to Run.
Was it?
Thunder Road? No, maybe not. The River?
Yeah, he did one, and then he did Nebraska, and then his next big one was Born in the USA.
Born in the USA, right.
Yeah, but that was after Nebraska. The one before Nebraska was the one where he started building momentum. And then he puts out Nebraska, and I don't know if you guys have ever, just let me know in the comments, have you ever heard Bruce Springsteen's Nebraska album? Because it is one dark album. It's about isolation, desperation, and murder. I mean, it literally has the song Nebraska is about Charlie Starkweather and Carol Fugate, who went through, Nebraska killing everybody on their way to Wyoming, where they killed everybody else. But it's why did I bring this up? Well, because you mentioned Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah. And so why isn't Bruce Springsteen singing at the volleyball thing?
Maybe they didn't ask.
Well, he's touring in Europe. I suppose,
Is he?
He's on a world tour. Probably, and I guess Taylor Swift is on a big tour right now too. So yeah.
Maybe Scotty McCreery could cover one of Bruce Springsteen's Nebraska songs. We'll move on.
Wade Farr says, why do the Big Ten suck in baseball? It's because they do not value or prioritize it at the conference level. John and I and Aaron, our baseball writer, we've talked that we're going to try to put together an open letter to the new commissioner of the Big Ten Conference. The truth be told, the Big Ten has the resources to put more into baseball, and they just need to figure out. They just need to prioritize it as a more important sport. And I think the potential is there. But as I said last week, when you compare the Big Ten to the SEC, Nebraska and Indiana are the only two schools that have attendance figures that would get into the SEC rankings. And there's only one SEC team that's below Indiana, and that's Mizzou. So, yeah, they need to prioritize it.
James Boardman says, nope, Springsteen sings like he's mid-poop.
He kind of does. He kind of does.
Come on.
No.
Come on.
Yeah.
Not everybody has to win.
This tunnel of love. Into this tunnel of love. Come on up for the rising. Yeah. That's that same kind of push you do.
Not everybody has to win American Idol to be a performer. That's the thing. That's when I look at today's music, I look at I like Pink and I like Katy Perry, but
that's not current music, John.
Well, okay. You're right. It isn't, is it? It's current enough for me. It's within the last decade. They've probably had hits. Okay. What do you want from me? But here's the point. None of these people are musicians anymore. They're all just stand up on stage and they perform. They don't actually play in it. What is this generation's Jeff Beck? Who is this generation's Eric Townsend? You know what I mean? Carlos Santana.
Well, there's some pretty good guitar players out there.
Like who?
I don't know.
There you go. They'd probably be indie guys, the Foo Fighters or somebody like that. Linda says, John, do you like Ed Sheeran? Sheeran? Is it Ed Sheeran?
Ed Sheeran, yeah.
As long as I don't have to see him, because he looks like a fucking hobbit, I think. If that's the guy, right? Is that the guy? He looks like a hobbit.
Yeah.
Yeah. As long as I don't have to be reminded of what he looks like, I'll be okay with that. I do generally I listen to indie rock or indie music on whatever. Well, now it's Apple Music. It was Spotify earlier today, and now it's changed over to Apple Music. Fred Sacco says Todd is scaring me.
Well, hey, and somebody said basically Bruce Springsteen's overrated. No, he's not. Bruce Springsteen is the boss, always will be the boss. And don't give me that overrated stuff with Bruce Springsteen.
I've seen him twice, and both times he performed 4 hours.
I know.
4 freaking hours.
Well,
4 hours.
They say it, he's 70-some years old, and he's putting on 3.5-hour shows. I mean, my God.
Linda Wilkins said, so do you not like redheads? No, I like redheads. I just don't like them to look like a hobbit. Okay. James Boardman puts the poop emoji up, I suppose, in response to the whole Bruce Springsteen thing.
Oh, hey, I do like Jack White. Jack White, he's an incredible musician. But does Jack White does he qualify as current? I mean, I don't.
Who's Jack White?
White Stripes.
Oh, okay.
Guy is an amazing guitar player.
Okay, Jack White.
And he is a musician.
12 Grammy Awards, one sold over 40 million. I was thinking of that other guy that played like Nacho Libre.
That's Jack Black. You got Jack White and you got Jack Black.
Okay. What we got 10 minutes left. Did we cover our list?
Well, I don't. Volleyball in Brazil. Scotty McCrary. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we kind of killed it.
Well, I do appreciate that 44 people or 43 now. Oh my God, it's going down. 43 people still signed up, watch the live stream about, well, kind of about Nebraska football in June, because this isn't exactly the time of year for college football. Although, you know what? It's June 5th. The football season is moving closer and closer. And there you go. I don't know where I was going with that. My wife is going to lose her job at the end of the summer. She is a director of the preschool at our church, and they are closing the preschool at the end of the summer. And last night she said to me, I have 12 weeks left. So I know that I have a countdown built in till college football season. Plus people will be reminding us, there's 97, 87 days left and things like that. But I don't know where I'm going now. I'm just trying to come up with stuff.
Well, I was just answering Fred Sacco. He said volleyball and Brazilian what? Brazilian steakhouse. Well, come on. What else do you think about when you think Brazil? Steakhouse.
There is one thing that is different on this platform, is that on the other one, we could reply directly to a user. So Jack the Ripper says, Taylor Swift is a perfect example, I assume, of a person who is a performer, but not necessarily a musician, or does musician on, you know what I mean? She doesn't play musician stuff on stage. Here's a good one. James Boardman comes up with, what's your thoughts on the SEC staying with 8 conference games? What do you think of that, Todd?
All the way to the bank.
Yeah, they are. They are. I think the thing is this is evidence of what works, why change. And it's also evidence of a law of physics. Do you know what the first law of physics is? Newton's first law is, Todd?
For every action, there is an equal opposite and opposite.
Is that it? I don't think that's the first law. Let's look it up. First law of physics states that an object at rest stays at rest, and an object in motion stays in motion with the same speed and the same direction unless acted upon by an external force. And here's how you apply the laws of physics to the SEC staying with 8 conference games is there's no external force to act upon them to do anything different. So the law of physics actually applies in so many different areas, in politics or life situations and things like that. There's literally no external force that's going to act upon the SEC to make them go to 9 conference games. Because the fact is, they play 9 conference games, they're going to lose more games, and they're going to be much less likely to get as many teams into the college football playoff. And they've been winning the college football playoffs, so why change?
Well, and I think they still sell their stadiums out, don't they? Even, I mean, there is an issue. And if you don't look around at some of the stadiums in the early season in the Big Ten and the Big 12, some of those stadiums have a lot of empty seats because they're not playing quality. They're not playing quality opponents. And who's going to spend that kind of money?
God, my mouse. Wade Farr comes back with, I don't understand why Nebraska doesn't prioritize baseball with the World Series in Nebraska. How much money the state loses by Nebraska not making it to the World Series. There seems to be this thing about Nebraska getting in the College World Series. I think finish a sentence. Which is harder, Todd, getting to the Final Four in basketball or getting to the College World Series?
Well, there's 8 teams that make it to the College World Series, and there's 4 that make it to the Final Four. So I think it's half as hard, twice as hard.
That's what you're going with?
I don't know what the odds are.
I think Nebraska does prioritize baseball.
I think they do.
I think they do, but they're in a conference that really drags. But we've said this before. They're in a conference where teams play such shitty schedules. It doesn't matter if we win or lose to them, really, because our RPI just gets sucked into the fucking toilet. Penn State starts improving their schedule. Northwestern improves their schedule. Teams like Purdue play all their games. Don't rely on a tarp.
There are some things that Nebraska could do to upgrade the program. I mean, Haymarket Park needs a facelift. The kicker on that is, that Nebraska doesn't have sole ownership of that park. Quite honestly, I understand that Nebraska's extended they've got more than enough going on where they got a lot of money going out, but but they need to upgrade the park. And I think that there might be a few other things. Nebraska could upgrade their schedule a little bit. But then again, Iowa makes a regional and they played 2 Division III teams. Division III teams.
Matt Hansen on Facebook says, way to own the Frost Advisory shirt. If you're listening to the podcast, Todd is wearing a Frost Advisory shirt. Matt says he has one too. Do we need to worry about you? Are you going to be homeless? You're running out of money. You can't buy new t-shirts.
Listen, I got a stack of t-shirts. I didn't pay any attention to what I put on today. It was red.
It was on top.
It was close. Yeah. I just reached and grabbed a red shirt. So this is Frost's advisory that he's done.
Oh my God. All right. We're getting down to it. One more comment. James Marshall says, putting Zlich in the Hall is a statement against Nebraska. What do you think of that? I think he put some thought. Oh my God. I think he put some thought into this question or into this statement.
Yeah. You could probably make that argument. I'm past that. I mean, it was, John, you've said it probably more eloquently than what I'm going to say it. You could not say it eloquently tonight, the way things are going, but, Frank Zlich was not given a chance to fail. And, right. You had an egomaniac that decided that he knew better about how to run and manage a football program than, the head coach. And so he gave him the boot. We will never know if Frank Zlich would have, if the program would have dropped into mediocrity under his leadership. But I felt bad at the time that the way he was let go. But by the same token, I was concerned, like a lot of Nebraska fans were concerned. Hell, we were all spoiled. We were spoiled horribly in the 90s.
Yep. David Kennedy says John needs to do a podcast about the album Nebraska. We'll finish with a story, a John story. My mom was a DJ. And mom was a DJ. She played, she started being a DJ in the 60s when she was at a sock bop or something they called them then. And some guy, they had a turntable and that they were at the tennis court in Curtis, Nebraska. And he was playing a song and he took the 45. A 45 is a little record about this big, just for you young people. And he was going to turn it over and play the other side. And my mom said, don't do that. And he goes, it sounds the same. It's all the same crap. And she took over the sock hops and she started doing the playing the music. By the time I was in high school, mom had about, 15,000 45s and about 4,000 or 5,000 albums. We played dance. We played prom dances. We played in bars dances. We played homecoming dances. We played wedding dances. You name a dance. We just went out and played dances all over the place. And Mom she loved every kind of music. When punk rock came out, we drove to Lincoln to go to Dirt Cheap Records, and she spent $300 on punk rock records and some of the most vile music you can imagine. My mother bought all that stuff. So music was a huge thing. It's been a huge thing. I never learned how to play an instrument. I never really learned how to sing. I don't think people need that, but I do have a vast, knowledge of music. Unfortunately, the country part and the country and Western part stopped existing for me probably about a long time ago, just because, come on, there's no twangy. They don't play steel guitars that much anymore. How can you have country and Western music without steel guitars? James Boardman says, Dead Kennedys, Roger Moore, Sid Vicious, and Linda Wilkins says, good night, John and Todd.
Highways jammed with broken heroes on a last chance power drive.
That was the best part of that is it was in tune. Oh my God. Fred Sacco says, whoop. I clicked on it. Fred Sacco says John sings Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. We need this. Not tonight, you don't. I can barely speak English, for God's sakes.
Weather comes on from the Chippewa on down from the big. They called it Shagumi.
Get Shagumi.
Said never gives up her dead. With the gales of November came early.
Is this when they make the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald the musical? The musical is. Mike Schuster said, Todd, what does your shirt say? Frost Advisory.
Yeah.
Brian Bauer says, did the bars in Curtis have the band stage protected by chicken wire? I don't.
Yes, they did.
I don't think we actually played in Curtis all that much. We played in towns. I remember we would go to towns all around us.
I remember you played at Maywood one night.
No, we did. We played wedding dances at Maywood. Let's see. Here, I'll tell you a very specific story. There is a song called, you can go out on YouTube and look up this song. It's called Billy Idol's Children of the Sun. And that song would start out with this guitar, this drum thing going on, and it was in stereo and would go back and forth between the speakers. So if we were in a hall, you'd have this bang, bing, bing, bing bouncing all around the place. And what would happen is this. I was in charge of setting up the music, and we had two very large, at that time, massive speakers that literally you could have turned this volume up, and the entire town of Curtis, not a very big town, could have heard them. They were massive. I was in charge of setting up all the equipment. Mom would play most of the records unless she needed a break, and then I'd play records for a while. But we would start out like an hour before, and I'd say, we need to check the sound here and make sure everything's right. And I'd put on Billy Idol's Children of the Sun, and it would be banging all around the place. And James Boardman says, amazing headphone song. That is true. If you want to listen to it on YouTube, I don't know if it's in stereo on YouTube, but it'll bang back and forth in your head. But I remember one night we played at like North Platte, like some fancy golf place or country club or some damn thing. It was a really nice place. I'm like 15, 16 years old. Mom leaves for a little bit because that's what she did on purpose. And she left me up there and she says, get the sound right. And I start playing Billy Idol. And of course, the bar is just, not very far away. And we're in this big ballroom type thing. And these people walk in from the bar because they hear us. And they look up and they see some 15-year-old kid playing this music way too loud. And they're kind of pissed off about it. Because they're like, who's this fucking kid doing this? Why is this kid up here on stage playing this shit? And really, this is how we started attracting people to get, there's going to be a dance and there's going to be a gathering. And of course, Mom would run in after these guys are starting to get angry at me. And she would come in and go, oh, this is my son. I'm Lexi. I'm the DJ you hired. Of course, they'd look at Mom. Well, she was freaking 60. And they'd look at both of us and there'd be my really old mom and really young me. And they'd go, what the fuck are we get ourselves into? And then that's how we'd start everything. But Mom always did that as part of setting up the stage for the show to start. And people, we would make a commotion and then people would start gathering and then they'd have fun because Mom was really good at it and she knew her music. There's my story for the night. All right. That's it. We got anything else?
I don't have anything else.
I talked too much. I need to go lay down now. I got the vapors. Plus, it's hot in here. I can't run a fan while we're on this thing. I need to find a quiet fan. Maybe something that blows up so my hair just goes like this constantly. We're going to have to worry. Wow, Husker Bob says there's nothing fancy in North Platte. I believe this. All right, that's it. We're over our hour, and we always say that we're going to go an hour. And you know what? Thank you all for showing up on a June Monday night for your therapy. Linda Wilkins says, is this meeting over? Yes, it is. So good night, Todd.
Good night, John.